Wonder Women. How was your week? Let's reflect. What did you build this week? As an entrepreneur, a woman who's building, we tend to focus on what's gone off track, the problems that we had to solve. In my week, as I reflect, my mind goes straight to those challenges, the areas that needed my focus and sucked up my energy. But this week, I definitely did have some wins to mention, and I want to share those with you in just a minute. But first, let's talk about how those problems to be solved can be soul-sucking. I came across a post that was a glimpse into entrepreneurship and really resonated with me. It's a peek behind the curtain, and it resonated so strongly that I wanted to share it with you in the hopes that you feel seen in your journey. So for full credit, the person who posted this is Chris, the co-creator, and I'm going to read it to you. The title of it is 10 Years of Entrepreneurship, a Love Letter to the Ones Who Refuse to Quit. They tell you about the money. They tell you about the freedom. They tell you about waking up when you want, making your own rules, sipping coffee on a Tuesday morning in a city that smells like a postcard. They don't tell you about the first time you realize your rent is due and there is nothing but crumpled receipts and a hopeful prayer in your bank account. They don't tell you about the nights you spend on the floor, not because you're drunk or high, but because the weight of building something from nothing is pressing into your ribs like a 1,000-year-old boulder, whispering, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" They don't tell you about the sacrifices, the birthdays you missed, the friends who don't understand why you can't just chill for one night, the lovers who leave because they need someone more predictable, more stable, more there. They don't tell you how your business will feel like a mirror, one that doesn't care about the version of you that looks good in interviews, but the version of you that still flinches when you open your mouth to ask for what you're worth. The version of you that learned to hustle out of survival, not strategy. The version of you that wakes up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. because what if it all disappears overnight? They don't tell you how many times you will want to quit, how many times you will write the resignation letter to yourself, only to delete it the next morning because something inside you refuses to kneel. How many times you will taste failure like a raw, bleeding wound, only to realize it is the seasoning of the gods, turning you into someone who cannot be undone. This decade has been a pilgrimage. It started with me, broken, standing in the ashes of a life I set fire to because I had no choice but to believe in something bigger than my circumstances. It started with me running from who I was, from what I feared, from a past that had every reason to keep me small. But somewhere along the way, the running stopped. Somewhere along the way, I learned that entrepreneurship isn't about money or titles or scaling to a number you can slap on your Instagram bio. It's about the alchemy of becoming. It's about walking into the dark and building a bridge out of your own spine. It's about learning to trust yourself in ways no one else ever taught you. It's about the mornings when you wake up and realize no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you have to start over, you are still here, still breathing, still building, still defying every statistic, every doubt, every reason you should have failed. So if you are in the trenches of it, if you are in the part they don't talk about, if you are looking at your bank account or your inbox or your life and wondering, how the hell do I keep going? This is how. You keep going because you have already come too far to go back. You keep going because the version of you who started this journey deserves to see what happens when you refuse to quit. You keep going because the world needs the kind of magic that only comes from those who have walked through fire and lived to tell the story. Okay, so I'm getting emotional now. Do you feel as seen as I do? And if nothing else, you keep going because you are the thing you have been building all along. So does any of that sound like what you've been experiencing as you're building your business, building your future, building your legacy? When I listened, when I came across this post, it was through another podcast I listened to that I was getting ready for my day, and it was someone I follow. And so the podcast was really short. It was like 8 minutes. I was like, ooh, I can listen to that real quick and get inspiration for the day. I had no idea that it was going to affect me so deeply and be something that I would want to share with all of you. I've had those soul-crushing moments. I've questioned myself and wondered, who the fuck do you think you are? Especially being a woman navigating in a men's space in construction. Those conversations in the beginning that were really hard, when most of the time when I knew what I was doing and knew what I was talking about, but someone older than me or more experienced than me would say, okay, sweetheart, in a condescending way, was challenging. And there weren't many people I could go to that understood the experience of what it is to, it said, build a bridge out of your spine. That sounds really aggressive and really harsh, but when you're putting all of your energy, your finances, your time, your dedication into something and building it from scratch, it does feel like you're building it out of your spine. And I didn't have anyone that I could go and share that experience with, and share that kind of heartbreak and those disappointments. And so that's the community I'm hoping to build here. I mean, I don't think every episode I'll get emotional and start crying about something that someone else posted, but maybe when you're listening, you'll feel seen and heard because of the trials and the challenges we've all been through. Now, the beginning of the podcast, I said before I read this that, when we think about our week, let's reflect on our week, and we think about our week, our minds immediately go to the hardships, the low moments. My highlight reel in my brain isn't what I post on Instagram. The highlight reel in my brain is the areas that I don't necessarily want to share. But why not flip the script in our brains, and that highlight reel be the wins? And, when we're in a business, when we're building our business on our own with our spines, it's hard to take time and step away from that to reflect on where we are and how far we've come and the wins that we've had. So that's what I'm going to ask you all to do. So I'm going to share a win, and hopefully this next week I will take more time to flip the script in my mind and to make that conscious choice to focus on the wins and to be present with what I'm accomplishing and can be proud of that. And then when I'm asked, what are your wins this week? My highlight reel won't be the negative things, but I'll have at least one good thing to share. So for me, my win this week was actually from this morning. I needed to run an errand. I had forgotten something somewhere that I was, and I went back to pick it up. And I was walking into the building to get this item. I was encountered by a gentleman that was coming out of the building, and he saw my car and the logo of my business on the car. And he introduced himself as being a client that I'd never met. And he said, hey, you guys did some work for me back in your first year of business, back in 2021. And I really enjoyed working with you guys. He's like, but what's interesting is that I'm rooted in the community. I see your trucks. I see your office. I see the work you're doing around town. And I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of you guys. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, amazing. Like, hi, what's your name? And so he shared his name, and I did remember him from the, project notes, like those first early clients that we had. Those are the ones you remember, like when you hang the dollar bill on the wall. He's one of the first clients we worked with. And it was an incredible conversation because I think that I'm out there by myself and that nobody notices the hard work I'm doing. And this basically almost complete stranger was able to pour that compliment into me and give me that moment of confidence. And it did uplift my spirits because this morning I was tired. I was running an errand, and I even think that the errand I was running was because I had forgotten it like for 3 days in a row. I'm cruising down the road. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm right here. And I like jerked my car and pulled in that parking lot to go grab that thing. And in my hurriedness, it was amazing to be interrupted by that great compliment. So I hope that you can find a win this week, and that when you come back next week, it's fresh in your mind. Thanks for listening to Wonder Women Who Build. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow, share, or leave a review. It helps more Wonder Women find us. Until next time, keep building boldly, leading with heart, and showing up as the Wonder Woman that you already are.